go. Boy, that looks nice back behind me, doesn't it? Nice, beautiful blue sky. Today, I know it's been a while since I posted a video. I thought I'd update y'all today. I appreciate you guys for stopping by and checking out what we're doing out here. Well, today what I'm doing is I'm digging little holes. Went to the Missouri Department of Conservation's website and I bought a bunch of trees. I got 25 shortleaf pines, which are a pine that's native to this area. In fact, a little tidbit, according to Missouri Department of Conservation's website, excuse me a second, you had dirt on your face there, but according to the Missouri Department of Conservation's website, this area out here is just full of oak and hickory and ash and black cherry and other miscellaneous hardwoods. But back in before they logged all this area out in the 20s and 30s, in fact, the reason why they came here, why a lot of timber companies came here, was for all the pine trees, tall, long, old, strong, old-growth pine trees. And in fact, there's a town just a few miles north of us, a town that has maybe 250 people now, that back in the 20s, a combination of the mining that took place in the area and all the timber, at one time had a population of close to 20,000 people working the mines and working the timber and the sawmills and they pretty much cut all the pine trees down. They would just come in. There was no such thing as sustainable forestry. The forests were so huge they thought they'd never end. So they just clear cut everything. And in the absence of the pine trees, the oaks and the hickories and other miscellaneous hardwoods kind of took over. So what you see of the Ozarks today is very different from what you would have seen 100 years ago. 100 years ago, it was almost all pines and with a little bit of hardwood mixed in. And now it's almost all hardwood with some pines mixed in. So anyways, I wanted some out here by the road, to kind of make a view block and a wind block. I wanted to put some trees, and I thought, well, I'll put some evergreens because that way, as they grow taller in the wintertime, it'll kind of be a view block when the leaves are on the trees. We got enough small stuff as well as the big stuff. You can't even see the RV in the house, but in the wintertime, it's plainly visible because all the leaves are off the trees. So I'm planting these pine trees, and the ones I got from the Missouri Department of Conservation, I got 25 shortleaf pines, and they come. Get you one out here. I'm getting ready to plant one. We get a good one here. I got 25 shortleaf pine trees and they come as bare root saplings. You can see the roots on it, and that's all they are. They're just basically 1-year-old bare root saplings. I got to cover those back up. I don't want the roots to dry out. But I got 25 of those, and I got 10 persimmon trees, and I think the total of it with shipping was maybe $35. So, and that's because the persimmon trees are more expensive than the pines. The pines are like 25 of them for around $10. So, yeah, I don't think it even costs $30. So, Missouri Department of Conservation website now, you have to, they make trees available in September. If you go on their website right now, most things are sold out. There's a few things that they've got. But if you're wanting to plant a lot of trees and you got the patience, it's a good place to go. They've got wild plum and black cherry. They got hazelnut. They've also, sometimes you can get blackberries, and but a lot of serviceberry, coffeeberry, all kinds of pine trees, oaks, hickories, and most of the species that they get there are things that are native to this area or close by they'll do well in the soil here. But it's a neat way to get a bunch of trees if you've got the patience um, to let them grow. I've got some out here that I planted, I think 3 years ago, that are up over knee high now. And you saw this little thing here. It's not even. It's probably from the root wad to the top, might be 12 inches. And I've got some out here now that are up about knee high. So it takes a few years, but it's a great way to get a bunch of trees on your property if you need them without having to spend a whole bunch of money. Like I said, they start on sale in September. By this time of the year, most everything's sold out. You go online and or you can download their catalog and order them by mail, and you order them in September and you set delivery for like March. So I got mine at the beginning of March, and when I got them, we had a bunch of cold weather coming in, temperatures down in the 20s. So you just have to keep some moisture on them to keep the roots damp, not wet, but just damp so they don't dry out, and keep them in a cool place, not a freezing place. And you can keep them for a little while before you have a chance to plant them. So I'm out here today. It's a beautiful day, and planting trees. And then after I finish planting some of these, then I'm going to go back up to the house and start doing some cordwood. I've got the area above the door finished. I'll show you that. And I'm working on the area beside the door so I can finish that wall section where the doorway is. I'll get that all finished up, and then I'll be ready to start on the dining room wall. And excited to get these walls in. Excited to get these trees in. So with that, I'm going to get back to it, planting trees. Now to plant these, basically you just dig a hole that's big enough and deep enough to for the root wad. You know, you might have to, like I'll have to spread this one out, expand this hole a little bit, put the tree down in there, and you want the top of it about the level where where it was planted. You know, you want it in there about the same depth that it was at the tree farm, and then you just pack it in. Normally you would water. I'm not watering because we've had a lot of rain. The soil's nice and moist, and we're supposed to get a huge rainfall tomorrow, so I won't have to really worry about watering because we're supposed to get a deluge with 1 to 2 inches tomorrow. Yeah. All right, so that's what it looks like. One of my little pine seedlings planted. So I put the ring of mulch around it. It's approximately 2-foot wide ring. And the beauty of this mulch is I didn't pay anything for it. Yeah, the beauty of it is, like I said, I didn't pay anything for my mulch. I go to a sawmill and I get sawdust, coarse pine sawdust that I use in my cordwood. And of course it has some good size, some chunks of bark in it, and it has some pretty big chunks of wood in it. And so what I do is I screen that out with some 1/4-inch mesh hardware cloth. Attach that to a frame that I made out of some scrap wood, and then what's left over, you know, the stuff that doesn't go through the hardware cloth, I dump out on the ground, and I use that for mulching around some of my pine trees. Also, if you look here, I'll turn around here and show you I know I've showed you guys this before, somewhere over here. Yep, there it is. My doing things backwards is really difficult sometimes. But there's my station, pressure wash station, where I wash the bark, knock the bark off the logs. And I get a real big pile there of cedar bark mulch. Now I've dragged some of that down towards my kiln so that I'm not walking in mud, but I also use that as mulch. So I've got the pine pieces that I got from sawdust that a guy gave to me, from a local sawmill. And then I've also got this cedar bark that I use. And as I told you, I started doing cordwood again. That's the first bit that I started next to the door. And I am finished on this side of the door, and I get finished up above the door. But I thought I'd show you guys a special treat. Let's go inside here so you can see what it looks like from the inside. Now, we've got beside it, but then up above it. Now, I've got the lights plugged in so you can see a little better. They don't show up as well at night, but that's what I've got up above the door. These are all wine bottles and liquor bottles. I got these from the red and most of the green, and some of the blue I got from a friend whose son runs a winery. I'll have to show you this at night sometime. It really pops out. But up the center of it, it's got, there's red bottles in the shape of a cross. It really lights up at night. And then the rest of it is just wine bottles, and the bigger ones are some gallon or half-gallon liquor bottles that my aunt gave me. Now, she did want to make sure that I let everyone know that she didn't drink those. She thought they were pretty, and she bought them at a yard sale for $1 for all 4 of them. And then she gave them to me, so I used them in my walls. And then down here on the side, starting my cordwood up between the window and the door frame. And of course, I've got here, right now I've got the lights plugged in. These lights that are lit up, these will soon be inside logs, bottle logs. And then all my switches, let me unplug this and get that out of the way. This plug right here will be tied into a switch. And so I've got one for the porch, one for the dining room, and then the A and B circuits in my living room, and then I've got one that's specifically for the light that's above the door, and that's that log I got sticking out there. It's on its own light. And then I've got one for the front porch, and then I have another switch that will switch my bottle lights off and on. All right, so that's what we're doing now. All right, so I thought I'd show you some of the things I'm doing when I can't, when weather conditions don't allow me to work on cordwood. What I've been doing is I've got these planters over here. I got 4 of the white ones. I got one back there. It's a herringbone that's stained. These are made out of treated wood fence pickets. Each box takes 3 of the treated fence pickets, and those cost a little over $2 a piece. And I've got that down to where I can. It takes me about an hour and a half to make one. That includes sanding and painting. And then the trellises here, believe it or not, those trellises, I bought 3 stud grade 8-foot 2x4s, and that's what I use to make these trellises. Just rip it down into 5/8 boards. And of course, the artwork that I did here, that's made using pieces, cut off pieces from some of my 2x6, 2x10, 2x12 boards. And then got some crosses that I've been making. These are pine with some stain. And then just on a whim, I took some just some chunks of cedar that was cut off from logs, and cut a slice off the top of it, and then hollow it out. Just using a drill and a chisel, hollow that out. A little piece of 1/4-inch plywood on it to make the lid stay on, and boom, there you get yourself a nice little box. So I've made several of those, given a couple away. I've also some of the oak that I've got. Oh, let me see. I've cut down and just made some nice oak wooden spoons. This is just out of a 1/2-inch piece of basically scrap. Just drew out a shape, cut it with a jigsaw, and then basically sanding with either a Dremel tool or a sander, and taking advantage of some of the nice grain in it. And some paddle type. I like ones that have a little corner on them to get down in the corner of the pans. Just some shapes that I like. And just a lot of it's just using some scrap wood and imagination. So I'll see if I can sell some of those. And then back here where it hopefully doesn't get so dusty as we go through the house. Hope that didn't make you too dizzy. I've got these crosses that I'm making. And this particular one, this one is stained. This is all oak. And it's got, this is natural oak. I like leaving some of the imperfections in the wood. I think that looks pretty cool. And then the center section of the cross is 1.5 inches, and then it goes down to 1 inch and 3/4 inch, and then 1/2 inch on the outside. And just some different colors of stain that I already had on hand. Provincial oak and black cherry and pecan, to give it some different color and some depth. And then I've got another one here. I've been making some of these. This one is oak and then black cherry. I got about a 2.5, 3 foot long black cherry log. I've been cutting some little 1/2 inch boards out of it. Black cherry, and then this is oak, and then this is cypress. A guy gifted me a chunk of cypress. It's only about 2 foot long. He said, I don't know what you'll do with this, but I rip it down into 1/2 inch boards on my table saw, and then I just spray this with a clear lacquer. It kind of brings out the wood grain, but lets you see the difference in the different woods. And that black cherry is, man, it's an absolutely beautiful wood. So things like that. And I've got some other things in mind to make. And you know, typically, you know, when people are trying to make money off their homestead, which, hey, why not? Especially if you're like me and you're retired, and you want something to supplement some income and to keep you busy so you're not bored out of your skull. But people, most of the time when they think of doing something to sell off the homestead, they think of, well, produce. I know some guys that are planting either acorns and hickory nuts and buying some chestnuts and basically sprouting those and then selling the seedlings, and basically like at wholesale, selling bare root seedlings. Not a whole lot of work into it, and they can make some decent money. A lot of people sell eggs, and will sell milk if they've got extra milk. Sell sheep, sell goats, things like that. Well, I don't have any of that stuff right now. And you know, we'll do chickens. We'll probably do some rabbits, but I don't know about sheep and goats. And sheep, I really don't have grazing area for them, although I do love some to eat lamb. So a lot of those traditional things that people use to sell for a homestead, we don't have. So what I'm doing is making things. I have the saws. I have the sanders and the chisels and the planers and the Dremel tool, and I have a little bit of imagination and not afraid to try something. You know, if I try it and it doesn't work out, oh well. But the beauty of it is that none of these things have taken a lot of money. It's like these cedar boxes. That's just stuff that is basically scrap. It's too short to use in the wall. It was just some cutoffs from logs I had initially cut too long, and then I had to cut some down. And so I thought, well, I'll just see if I can make some boxes out of those. And it looked pretty cool. I've given a couple waves, sold some of them. Crosses made out of basically scrap wood. You know, when you take a log and you mill it with an Alaska mill. And even when you do one at a sawmill, that first cut that you make is to take that rounded section of a log off and square it up. And when you're doing an Alaska mill, you put your rails on it, and then you make that first cut. And now you've got a flat surface. You take the rails off, and then you use the flat surface of the next wood as your guide for cutting the rest of your boards. So that piece, it's about that thick in the center and goes down smaller. And the local sawmills, what they do with them is there's a Royal Oak charcoal factory not too far away. So the local sawmills, they just throw those all off to the side, and then they bundle them up, load them on one of their trucks, and they take them off to to Royal Oak, and they end up in charcoal. But so what I did, I had some of those from the oak logs that I had milled down, and I thought, well, I can do something with that. So I just cut they're over 8 foot long, so I just cut me a section that was manageable and used my table saw to rip it down into 1/2-inch boards, and that's what I used for making these the crosses that you saw. So that's wood that probably most people would have just, if you got a wood burning stove, they split up and throw it in the stove. Well, I used it to make something that I can sell for $30. Pieces of cedar that instead of throwing them in the fire, I can turn them into little boxes. Some of these scrap boards, so-called scrap boards, pieces of oak that I can use to make spoons out of. And things that don't take much cash outlay, like these planter boxes. I've got a little over $6 worth of materials in each one of those, and by the time I paint them, about an hour and a half of labor. So not too bad. And I'm not the fastest in the world. I'll tell you that right now. There's probably a lot of people that could build these in an hour. It takes me an hour and a half. But at any rate, that's kind of the kind of things that we're doing to monetize out here at the homestead, and I'm looking forward to that craft fair coming up. And basically what I've been doing when we got rain that makes it to where it's not really good weather for being in and out and working on cordwood, or I've got nights that are going to be below freezing, and I don't want mortar exposed to those temperatures, I'll just spend a day making stuff. Problem is I keep putting pictures on Facebook and selling stuff, so I have to make more stuff. But that's a good problem to have. So it's kind of like with the cordwood walls, with this whole house build. All of this is stuff that I haven't done before, but if you've got some imagination and some basic tools, and you're not afraid to try, you can do something that looks really pretty, and it's very satisfying. All right, well, I think I got enough daylight to make at least one more batch of mortar, put some more logs in, put some more bottle logs in this wall, light it up a little bit more, and get this thing built so we can get out of that RV and get moved in here. All right, thanks for joining us. Thanks for taking a look at our videos, and thanks for enjoying the ride. We appreciate you guys, and thank you for stopping by. And until next time, this is Bob at Serenity Hill saying, don't be afraid to try something that you've never done before. You might just enjoy it. Talk to you later. Bye.